So I've been on a little visit to Cosmic Toys of Dewsbury, and there will be a separate video on that to follow. And I thought I would begin with showing you the least Batman-y pickup that I made that day, which is this chap. Now, I just went to check which Visionaries figure this is, because I used to have a Visionaries figure. I've been looking for it for ages. I can't lay my hands on it. So I thought I would pick up another example so that I could show you what was cool about them. Unfortunately, having just looked very quickly, I think the body is Ektar, but I think that the totem on his chest, which is a cheetah, is not his totem. I think his totem was supposed to be something else. So it may be that at some point in this figure's life, his totem got swapped about because they pop off quite easily. So not quite sure what to do about that. I mean, it's a really nice example of it. The holograms are still really good, even to, you know, I mean, scarily, it's probably like 40 years on, and the holograms are still really good. I mean, so don't know what that says about them exactly, or what they're made out of, but anyway, not very degradable, it would seem. So yeah, it's still an impressive Pussycat hologram, but unfortunately, I don't think. I mean, I only got him very loose. It was literally just to show you and maybe do a little video on the hologram at another point in time as well. But anyway, so I might need to look for another example of that perhaps and try and get some that I can swap around and about. So as I mentioned, I ended up with a lot of Batman stuff. I hadn't gone to get Batman stuff particularly, but I did. And we'll start with this, which I didn't get from the store. But this is The Dark Knight Returns, a very, very famous Batman graphic novel by Frank Miller. It has a lot of very iconic moments, many of which you will actually see in Batman Superman Dawn of Justice. Classic example of that, if I can find it, is this scene here. Because it was, as soon as I saw it on the film, it was basically exactly these frames of the graphic novel. And it's almost frame by frame in the film, with Batman bursting through a wall, getting hold of one of the bad guys' really big guns, and then using it on them. So pretty much as it was in the comics. I mean, fair dues to them, because this also features Batman versus Superman. And off the back of this, I've seen this set before, but Gareth very kindly pointed out that he had a sort of a loose version of it. So I was able to pick this up loose. So what I've got is figures like this, because this is the Joker as he is portrayed in that graphic novel. Now, I don't think these are posable. Oh, no, they're slightly posable actually. So you can do them. It's got a little bit of movement, but not a huge amount. Got some accessories as well, and basically I picked up the Joker and Superman and a rather older, grumpier looking Batman, because he was in The Dark Knight Returns. That was kind of the point. This was him in his twilight years, still trying to be the Batman of his youth and finding that he couldn't quite keep up with that anymore. So it's a really interesting read if you haven't read it before. There's some great one-liners in there as well, which which I really, really appreciated reading. And I have also got and this is a female Robin. I don't know that he's had a female Robin sort of before, sort of since. I mean, obviously they've been Batgirls, but I'm not sure we've ever actually had another female Robin aside from this one. Those who know Batman somewhat better than I do may have an answer to that. You might tell me that he has had, which I could totally believe. But I also got a lamppost. Anyway, if you're familiar with the comic, you'll know what that's about. I also picked up these. I've already got a Batwing one of these. These are the Ertl die-cast they also did some figures as well, but the vehicles is what I'm collecting at the moment, and I've got the Bat plane already, also from Gareth actually. But I quite like this because it's got this these BT stickers on the top corner as well, which is a nice little reminder of where they originally came from. So I've got that one, and I've also got a Bat boat, I believe this one is. I mean, it could be a Bat anything, but it is in fact a Bat boat, I believe. So the only ones I'm now missing are a rather random Gotham City police helicopter, Bruce Wayne's car, and the Batmobile. I mean, I do have countless versions of this particular. Well, I say countless versions. I have two of the same version of this Batmobile currently, which is the animated series one. But you can see there's quite a big sort of range of them available to hunt down. But it's one of those nice ones because it's quite a finite range. I think they did bring out some more when they brought out the version of the animated series that did have a Robin in it. Initially, it was just Batman. So initially, it was quite a dark version of it because there wasn't a Robin to offset him. But although, in fairness to them, even when Robin did arrive, it was still quite dark. So, fair dues to them. Now, I'd been bleating on about this to Gareth for ages, and I'd been meaning to pick it up for a while. And again, it's not this, but this will give you a massive clue. This is not Bruce Wayne. Now it's that. So there was a series of Batman, a storyline in the Batman comics. This would have been mid-90s maybe, whereby a figure who you may be familiar with these days called Bane broke Batman's back. And as a result, Batman felt the need to substitute somebody in who he'd started to train up, who was older than Robin and different to Nightwing. So this guy was John Paul Valley, I think his name was, also known as Azrael and the Avenging Angel. So as it turned out, it wasn't quite such a bright idea to put him into the bat suit. And what he then proceeded to do was modify the bat suit. So for the first time that I could ever remember, he gradually started adding elements like sort of gauntlets that could fire bat shurikens out of the wrists. So all of a sudden he became this sort of augmented Batman, and the suit then grew, and he got more armoured. He got a sort of a beam that he could light up through his chest. He had a fully enclosed cowl, so that presumably sort of built-in respirator and stuff, and a sort of heads-up display. And he had a sort of a mental conditioning called the System, which basically meant he went into this kind of altered state when he was fighting. But unfortunately, it turned out he wasn't exactly as nice, if you want to put it that way, as Batman. So in the end, he and Bruce Wayne, rehabilitated, had to go head to head so that Wayne could reclaim the mantle of the Bat. So it's a really good, really epic Bat saga, if you like. And actually that collection I've only got relatively recently because I'd got the sort of the Nightfall where Bruce is injured and John Paul Valley takes over, and then sort of the ending of that saga. But I knew there was this period where John Paul Valley was as Bats, as he's known. And, there was a long period there where he sort of gradually got deeper and deeper into his conditioning, which wasn't a good thing. And off the back of all that, here we have Azrael, Batman, armour, Batman. And you can see that's the comic styling on which he's based. This was the cheaper of the options, I believe, for the figure. But I do think it looks like a really, really good figure. There's lots of articulation there. I'm humming and hawing over whether or not to actually take it out of the box, because I do tend to display my Batman figures. I have a very small range of Batman figures, not like a major collection at all. But for me, this was really interesting because I honestly thought at the time that this was a modern look that Batman was going to get and keep. That was my assumption. And what's interesting is that over time, Batman has become more armoured. I don't think I'd read it for a while, but I think it was one of the Jeff Loeb series, and he sort of I could see that he kind of developed sort of more kind of subtle armor plating underneath the suit, and I think that this was probably one of, if not the first precursor of that sort of shift towards a more armored Batman, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know what people think about that as a concept, because originally he always sort of relied on his athleticism and so on to dodge bullets, and occasionally took the odd bullet as well, so Alfred had to patch him up. But with these versions, the bullets kind of bounce off him in a Superman style, and obviously we see that when Batman takes on Superman, he always tends to armor up and have some sort of power armor vibe going on. So that was an interesting sort of precursor to that, I thought. And this was the final thing I picked up, and again, this was a completely random pickup as well, but just a very old Strontium Dog, and I think that one of the reasons this caught my eye, and I mentioned this to Gareth in the store, is that I have a very clear memory of going into an Asda in Rhyl, of all places, Kimnall Bay, close to Rhyl, on the North Wales coast. Went in there with my mum on a summer holiday day. Not sure what age I was exactly, but I remember that was the first time I noticed 2000 AD on the sort of the normal newsstands, and I picked up a 2000 AD monthly that was Strontium Dog, and that really got me into 2000 AD, because it was a cracking story. It was beautifully illustrated. It was right up my street, being a little bit older, but being into sort of science fiction. And like, here are these science fiction stories being told in a really accessible way, with really great artwork, which I really appreciated. And I just sort of that was kind of how I shifted away from like the Marvel UK stuff that I had been reading up until that point, and got into sort of slightly more mature comics at that point. But you can see, it's all sort of completely. I'm trying to find a good example, but it's all black and white, and that doesn't put me off in the slightest, because the artistry isn't always in the colouring. It's just in the sketch work there, and I do love that. It's very British, and it's very science fiction, and it's just it's very much the comics of my childhood. And the fact that we haven't had a Strontium Dog film beyond some rather excellent fan films that are out there, so if this catches your fancy, do go and have a look on YouTube for Strontium Dog fan films. There are shed loads out there, I believe, or at least actually I may be thinking of Alien. I've just found a whole slew of Alien anthology sort of Alien derivative shorts on YouTube. So, who knew? It makes perfect sense when you stop and think about it, but who knew? So yeah, just nice pickup, and it wasn't expensive at all getting it second hand. And sometimes it's nice just to pick them up for the sake of having a flick through, and not having to pay for the nose for it. So on that bombshell, I will leave it there, but I will encourage you to have a look at my look around Cosmic Toys. I did have to do it quite quickly because I was running out of parking, and it's quite tricky when other people are in the store, because I don't want to get people's faces, because that's, I was trying to respect people's privacy. So I just kind of whizzed around, and then I did an audio track after the event. And I think I've just about got it to sync up, but it's, maybe I should have taken a bit more time over it. So apologies to Gareth if it's not quite what you might have hoped for. But I said to him I was going to try and just sort of whiz round, just so you can see what's in there, because as I say on that video, he's got a shed load of stuff in there, stuff that you probably wouldn't necessarily think was going to be in a small store in Dewsbury. But if you're not wanting to pay through the nose, if you want to get some loose figures, you want to get some secondhand graphic novels, just to sort of have a taste of things, you could do a lot worse, quite frankly, because he doesn't take rubbish in, whatever he takes in is going to be resellable and not a problem. And I do find that eBay can be a bit up and down like that sometimes. So I think there's a lot to be said for being able to go into it and physically look at things and flick through things, just so you're happy with the condition that you're going to be getting it in when you pay for it. So have a think. There's no compulsion on my part, obviously. I'm not being paid to say any of this. So on that recommendation, I will leave it there. I'm quite busy this week, so that's probably about as much as I'm going to do, I think, this week. But I do have a lot of IKEA furniture to put up at the moment, and once I've done that, however long that takes, I will show you, the sort of more of the sum total of what I've got over the past months now, because I smiled when I realised I duplicated something, because I thought there's so much stuff that is just scattered around my house at the moment and not always in sight that even I don't know everything that I've got at the moment. So it'll be fascinating to see what I actually have got when I actually get everything back out again and on display. So I'm quite looking forward to doing that, but I'm not looking forward to the creation of 4 identical sets of furniture. But cheers for now.